If you've been searching for a haircut that looks sharp, professional, and timeless without being high maintenance, then the Ivy League is the perfect choice. This cut has been around for decades and still works just as well today. Whether you're a student, a businessman, or someone who just wants a versatile style that can adapt to any situation. If you don't know me, I'm Ali, and I help people get their perfect hairstyle with a proven step-by-step system. So let's see how to get an Ivy League hairstyle. So first, what exactly is the Ivy League? The easiest way to think about it is that it is basically a longer version of the crew cut. Unlike a traditional crew cut that leaves the top so short you can't do much with it, the Ivy League keeps just enough length on top to give you styling options. You can comb it to the side, add a little volume at the front, or keep it flat or clean for a more business-like look. The crown area is cut slightly shorter, usually around an inch to an inch and a half, while the front is left longer, around 1¾ to 2½ inches. This difference in length is what allows you to comb the front up or to the side while still keeping everything balanced. The sides and back are usually tapered with a clipper guard somewhere between a 1½ and a 3, depending on how conservative or sharp you want the look to be. The taper is kept low and clean around the sideburns and neckline, which keeps the whole style looking professional and never over the top. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the actual tutorial. When it comes to the process of getting into an Ivy League, the first step is always communication with your barber. You don't have to use complicated terminology. Just be clear and simple. A good starting point is to say something like, I want an Ivy League cut with a number 2 on the sides and a low taper at the nape and sideburns. Please blend the sides into the top softly, not like an undercut. On top, I would like about 2 inches at the front and an inch to an inch and a quarter near the crown so I can side part it. That description gives your barber enough direction while also leaving them the room to adjust based on your head shape and hair type. Once the cutting begins, the barber will start with the sides and the back. The barber will run the clippers up to just below the parietal ridge, which is that curve on the side of your head, because if the barber goes any higher, it throws off the balance of the cut. The barber will usually use a number 2 guard since it is the safest choice, but if you want a softer look, the barber might go with a number 3, or if you prefer something extra sharp, the barber will use a number 1½. Next, your barber will taper the nape and sideburns, keeping it low and supple so it fades nicely into the skin without climbing too high. That's what makes the haircut look professional and not overdone. After finishing the sides, the barber will move on to blending them into the top, either with clipper over comb or scissor over comb. Now, this is where you really need to pay attention, because a lot of barbers rush through the blending, and that's exactly where a cut can fall apart. This is the part that keeps the transition smooth, avoiding any harsh steps or visible lines. The Ivy League is not meant to look like an undercut with a hard disconnect. It should look seamless. The barber will cut the top next, starting from the crown and working forward using scissors. I know what you're thinking. Why scissors and not clippers? Well, scissors give you a softer, more natural finish, which is very important for the Ivy League look. So the barber will keep the crown a little shorter, usually around an inch, and then leave each section moving forward slightly longer, so that by the time the barber reaches the front, it is around 2 inches or more. This creates the graduation effect where the hair naturally looks fuller toward the front, letting you style it with a side part or add some lift. Next, your barber will add texture with point cutting, where they snip into the ends rather than cutting them bluntly. This keeps the top from looking too flat or heavy. If your hair is very thick, the barber will use thinning shears sparingly, but never too much, since overusing them on fine hair makes it look stringy. Once the top and sides are blended and balanced, the barber cleans up the edges around the ears and neckline. The goal here is a natural outline rather than a boxy one, because a natural shape grows out more gracefully and still looks good after a few weeks. At this stage, the haircut is finished, but the styling is what brings it to life. Now let's look at the styling process. Styling an Ivy League should never take more than 2 or 3 minutes. After you shower or dampen your hair, towel dry your hair so it is damp but not dripping. And here's something I always tell guys. The Ivy League is one of those cuts where less product is more. A pea-sized amount is enough. If you overdo it, you will weigh the hair down and lose that natural movement. Work a small pea-sized amount of product into your hands and run it through your damp hair, focusing on the roots at the front and top. Blow dry while combing your hair from the part line across to the other side. If you want volume, lift your front slightly with your brush or your hand while drying. If you want a flatter, more conservative look, simply blow dry it down and over. Once dry, add just a little more product if needed, starting at the back and sides before finishing at the top so you don't overload the front. Matte products work best because they look natural and don't make the hair shiny or stiff. But if your hair is fine and struggles with volume, a light mousse before drying can really help. If it is coarse or dry, a cream is better than a clay because it adds some moisture. Curly-haired guys can use a little curl cream and dry on a low setting before finger styling the part. Now, you might be wondering, how often do I need to maintain this cut? This is something I always like to emphasize. The Ivy League is not just about what the barber does, it is also about how you maintain it afterward. Ideally, go to the barber every 3 to 4 weeks for a quick cleanup. And even if you're really busy and cannot visit the barber, you don't need to worry about it. The beauty of the Ivy League is that it grows out really well. Even after 4 or 5 weeks, it simply softens into a classic side part style rather than looking messy. Now I know some of you are already wondering, okay, but is this cut right for me? The short answer is that it works for almost anyone. If we talk about face shapes, the Ivy League works with many of them. If you have a round face, the little lift at the front can add height and make your face look longer. If you have a longer face, you can style it flatter in the front to balance your proportions. It even works well for guys with a receding hairline because the clean taper on the sides and the part on top can make the hairline look sharper and more intentional. Overall, it is one of those styles that can be adapted to fit almost anyone's lifestyle. Whether you are a student, a professional, or just someone who doesn't want to spend forever on their hair each morning. Something else worth pointing out is how well this haircut works with different hair types. If your hair is straight or wavy, it is a natural fit because the top can be styled quickly with just a comb and a small amount of product. If your hair is fine, the Ivy League can actually make it look thicker, especially if you use a matte finish product to add volume and texture. Guys with curly hair can also wear this cut as long as they leave enough length on top, usually 2 to 3 inches, so that the curls have some room to shape naturally. Besides being tighter, creates a nice contrast that helps define the curls. And this is just a step-by-step haircut process for a simple haircut. If you want to get any other haircut that needs to have some length, then you must watch this 8-video series where I have shared everything from finding your perfect hairstyle to actually rocking it. See you on the other side.